you think about Joe Rogan, he's got the #1 podcast in the country. And then you start to think, well, it's men. She has a problem with men. There are many men that don't want to vote for her.
So they have a problem with her.
That's right.
They have a problem with her.
That's much better said. That's much better said. Thank you for correcting me. Now,
You're about to watch a completely tone-deaf display of Trump derangement syndrome from the wannabe cackling hens that call themselves The View, right? And so in this one, the ladies basically demonstrate how completely disconnected they are from the reality and how separated they are from normal average American citizens. They don't understand the insults that they're making towards men when they say that men that can't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman are misogynists. It's very insulting, and I believe that it's just basically wrong. It's straight up wrong. And, you know, they do a lot of projection. There's supposedly going to be this interview between Kamala Harris on the Joe Rogan podcast, which in my mind, after the complete destruction we witnessed last night with Bret Baier, in her interview with Bret Baier, there's no chance that she could last 3 hours with Joe Rogan. Now, maybe somehow her handlers can convince Joe Rogan to do a shorter, interview, a more softened interview, but I just don't think Joe Rogan rolls like that, and I don't believe that he's willing to cater to any politician like that, because like I said, if she can't last 30 minutes, which I believe they basically cut Bret Baier off at like 28, 29 minutes last night, there's no way she could last with Joe Rogan. So hopefully she does, because I believe it would just be more failure from her in another display that she is not fit to sit with world leaders and negotiate on America's behalf and Americans' behalf and actually come away from the table with what's best for us. I mean, she couldn't even last with Bret Baier. How is she going to last with Vladimir Putin or President Xi of China or, anybody, even NATO? They're going to walk all over her. Have no doubt. Israel, everybody will walk all over her, get everything that they want from her, and it'll all be at our expense. American taxpayers that are already the world's piggy bank, right? And so let's just get into it.
So Vice President Harris is venturing into uncharted territory for many Democrats. She's sitting down for an interview with Bret Baier that airs tomorrow night, and reportedly considering an appearance with on Joe Rogan's podcast. And everyone has been saying, well, you don't do that. You don't go to Fox. You didn't do that. So now she's doing it. I can't wait to hear what she's not doing now. Because she's going to everybody. Because she wants to talk to everybody.
But I know it's also important sense because she's going to be everybody's president.
Yes.
Right? And so you have to speak to everyone. And I think, again, she's just run this flawless campaign. If you think about Joe Rogan, he's got the #1 podcast in the country. And then you start to think, well, it's men. She has a problem with men. There are many men that don't want to vote for her.
So they have a problem with her.
That's right.
They have a problem with her.
That's much better said. That's much better said. Thank you for correcting me. Now, half of Rogan's fans identify as Republican, but half didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2020. So there is an opening for Kamala. There's an opening for Democrats to communicate with that 48% of men that don't like that choice. And I'll say this, 25% of his fans are Hispanic. And we know that she's also having that problem with Hispanic men. And so, well,
according to Whoopi Goldberg, she doesn't have a problem with them. They have the problem with her, right? Even though she's the one that's trying to get them to vote for her. So I believe that Sonny Hostin is actually right in that assessment. It's just crazy how tone deaf, like I said, Whoopi Goldberg is when she says that the men are the one that have the problem. Like, it's our fault. And you think that that type of behavior is going to get people to change their vote or actually show up and vote for the person that you want? That's completely ridiculous. And, it's going to come down to men in this election. I've heard the conversations, the debates saying that men are actually going to be the determining factor in this election, which I tend to agree with. And I think that'll be much attributed to Black men and Hispanic men voting for Donald Trump in numbers like the country has never seen Black and Hispanic men vote for a Republican.
Well, they're having problems.
Well,
with
and
that.
elections are all
So I'm
math.
happy
It's
about
all
that.
math and numbers. So the most important part here is that she gets to tell her own narrative and no one's describing her, because we're in a siloed world. So people are consuming her with other people describing her. This comes straight from her mouth, and people can decide for what they want, and that's where she'll shine.
And
She's going where the votes are, and I think that both are going to be tough interviews. Brett Barrett is a real journalist. He'll ask hard questions. Joe Rogan is actually a quite talented interviewer. I don't agree with a lot of things he says, but what she has an opportunity to do is, A, define herself, but also push back on lies that some of the Fox audience may not get about Donald Trump and his record. He blocked the border, and about her. He blocked the border security bill. He wants to raise taxes effectively through his tariffs, but also she's going to show up and they're going to see she is smart. She is somebody who could be commander-in-chief.
And it's hard to call somebody a dummy to their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those things, all those ways they've been describing her in the various times we've seen. You know, when you're face to face, one-on-one with somebody, they're no longer an enigma.
Yeah.
They are a reality, and you got to deal with
And by the way, it takes, I think, a lot of bravery and courage to walk into a place that may not be
Oh, look at the
a
difference in
comfortable
the
place
two of them.
for
She
her.
will go into what enemy territory, which the geriatric said over the Rupert Murdoch's thing. He's not even American. It's like, go to your own country and destroy it. That's one thing. Rupert Murdoch. Well, I'm just free associating that. But he's afraid.
Don't weave on us, Joe.
You're weaving.
But Trump, he won't even take questions from his own supporters. He starts dancing to, the time to say goodbye. And she will go into enemy territory. That shows you that she has more than he does.
You know what? It's that thing. And this is for all the women in the audience. Women are forced to go into places constantly where people don't always welcome them.
Are these idiots being serious right now, or are they just lying to people because they think they're stupid? Because there's no way that these people believe what the words that are coming out of their own mouths, right? Donald Trump has marched into CNN, MSNBC. He's done countless interviews. He's even done interviews on 60 Minutes. I mean, so many interviews. I'm not even gonna try to play any of the clips because there's literally so many. And that's even after they attack him and called him fake news. It was one of the problems that Donald Trump had was with his ego, in that he wanted everybody to like him. So he was constantly trying to prove the Democrats wrong, even, by allowing the investigation into Russian collusion when they appointed the special counsel headed up by somebody that he didn't like him. Spent $50 million to prove that he's innocent, essentially. And it was only the Democrats that didn't believe him. It was only the Democrats that were attacking him. So, I mean, Donald Trump is no sheep when it comes to going into a lion's den and facing interviews from what they call their enemies, which, that's a good example of how these people think on The View. They call people with opposing thoughts enemies, whereas people on the Republican Party just believe that, if they think that Donald Trump is evil or whatever, they're just misguided. They've been lied to. They're too busy in their lives to pay such close attention to the politics and all the ins and outs and things like that. And, we give them the built-in excuse to be ignorant. Not everybody is fully involved and fully informed. And so with that understanding, we don't hate these people that have different views. And as soon as they come to the realization, become a free thinker and understand what's going on with these mainstream media pundits that love the Democrat Party, that are bought by the Democratic Party, we accept them in. You know what I'm saying? Not once has a person been shunned from America First or, the MAGA Party or whatever you want to call it, for having wrong think. And that's the difference. The Democratic Party is a woke cult, and you can see it here from The View. They will not give an inch. Meanwhile, the American First group, they love everybody, right? They either think you're misguided, will pray for you to be informed, will pray for your health still, things like that. Versus, you question something about being gay now, you are out of the party, which is how the Democratic Party treats their own, right? They will eat their own, they will throw their own to the wolves as soon as they have wrong think or express potential wrong think, right? So they got to walk this fine line, and that's probably what they're doing here on The View, is they're catering as well as trying to set a narrative that, of course, Donald Trump bad, and in this case, Kamala Harris good hero. And the crazy part about it is this is only one interview that she's done on Fox News. Every other interview that she's done in this last week and a half, which the only reason why she's doing them is because they're reeling. They understand that she's losing ground in polls, the poly markets, all that type of stuff. She's doing these interviews with Howard Stern, lefty, Stephen Colbert, lefty, The View, bunch of lefties you see here. Every single one that she's done, besides the one on Fox News. And that was the first time that she was ever forced to take tough questions, right? And I want to point something out that I haven't seen anybody else mention yet. And I've been on Twitter, I've been on Instagram, things like that. She was wearing the same exact earrings for that Bret Baier interview that she was wearing during the Donald Trump debate. And those earrings are one of two things. They're either Bluetooth earrings where she can hear their listening devices, so somebody's talking into her ear from, wherever else, or they're $800, I believe, Tiffany earrings, which goes to show that she's going to wear somebody's house payment on her ears, right in your face, and be completely disconnected from the people that live in the American society, most people that are living paycheck to paycheck, carrying credit card debt and doing everything that they can just to pay the bills and keep food on the table. Meanwhile, she's either wearing $800 earrings or Bluetooth listening devices, which probably cost more than that. I don't even know. But regardless, I find it curious and rather fishy that the two tough things that she's done in public live without a teleprompter, she's been wearing the same earrings. So, I don't know. You guys make your own decision on that. Let me know in the comments. What do you think they are? Were they Bluetooth earrings or are they just the $800 Tiffany? I think it's Tiffany. Maybe it's one of the other. I don't know. But they're $800 earrings. So anyways, let's finish this up. And then I just want to show you a couple clips of the interview that she did after this with Bret Baier and let you guys decide who's right, The View or the rest of American society that watched the interview. And do you think, let me know also in the comments, do you think Kamala Harris has any chance of lasting 3 hours on an interview with Joe Rogan on his podcast? For me personally, I don't believe she could. Maybe he can make a special circumstance and just do like a half hour with her or an hour with her. But even that is going to get her just completely thrown under the bus because Joe Rogan doesn't do that type of format. He puts together 3-hour-long shows. And so if he makes an exception, that's because she can't handle it, right? And there's no excuse that they can say to, oh, she doesn't have enough time. Bull crap. She's not running the country right now, apparently, right? That's what she's trying to say. She's not running the country right now, even though she's co-signed everything that Joe Biden has done. She's campaigning in the last 3 weeks of this campaign. I mean, early voting starts here in like 4 or 5 days where I'm at. So, I mean, we're into the election. So she needs to be doing nothing but campaigning, and she certainly should give Joe Rogan 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of her time if that's what it takes to help her. And she's completely incapable of it, in my opinion. But let's play the rest of this, and I'm going to show you some more clips from the Bret Baier interview.
So she understands what this is. She gets it. And thank God for you men who are here in our audience who aren't afraid to come here and hear what we're doing. So thank you, and thank you to Bret Baier to saying yes, and to Joe Rogan for saying yes. Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, you have a clarification.
Yes, I have a very simple clarification. Apparently, Rupert Murdoch is an American citizen. I'm assuming he has double citizenship to Australia. So he's an American citizen.
What a bunch of idiots. Who cares if Rupert Murdoch was Australian or American or whatever? Joy Behar is completely clueless. But the cringe factor right there was turned up to 11 when Whoopi Goldberg thanked the men that are willing to come on their show and listen to their bullshit, because she knows she's spewing out a bunch of bullshit and they don't want to hear it. Look, those guys were dragged there by their wives, or they are on the, willing. They're the type of guys that were in that most recent Kamala Harris ad with all the dudes talking about, I build carburetors all day, and I can bench press a bunch of weight and braid my daughter's hair, coming from an actor that doesn't have a daughter, right? A bunch of gay dudes, mind you. Anyways, childless gay dudes they try to portray as masculine men that are voting for Kamala to fool you. And so anyways, just real quick, let's look at a couple clips from the Bret Baier interview. from last night.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have.
I'm going to pause real quick, and I just want to reiterate, have a good look at those earrings, and you tell me, are those the same exact earrings that she was wearing during the debate with Donald Trump? I think they are. I think there's no way that she'll be able to distinguish, or anybody would be able to distinguish between the two pairs of earrings.
And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a
which
number,
is-
do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your
And-
Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
It's a
an
rough
immigration
estimate of
system
6 million people
that
have been
needs to be-
released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you
So that was just the very first question, and I find it ironic that she basically started off not answering the question directly. He was trying to answer a question or ask her a question with a very specific, simple answer so that he can move on with the interview and ask her as many things as possible. And in the end, he basically admits that he's trying to give her the opportunity to be honest with the people and to distinguish herself separately from Joe Biden. And the only way that she can actually answer that, the only way that she's able to distinguish it is that she says, I'm not Joe Biden. Well, obviously, dummy, we all know that, but you co-signed to every decision that he made. So what about you is different? Give us some examples. And she couldn't give anything. And here, I'll show you the closing statements here at the end. And then we'll wrap this one up.
I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more
there
to
are
say,
a lot of
actually.
things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and
Yes.
that's why we
I
invited
invite
you
everyone
here.
to go to kamalaharris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do
And that's why
intend
we
to do to
invited you
strengthen
here
our economy,
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are
support
now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so you see there, she chose to talk about Donald Trump rather than to talk about herself. And he was telling her that, I hope you got everything that you needed to say about Trump off your chest, because I was going to give you the opportunity, I was trying to give you the opportunity to distinguish who you are today and explain your change in positions and policies from just a couple years ago, where we have multiple videos of you saying the exact opposite of what you're claiming you believe today. But she went on this word salad rant in closing arguments, and I believe that she wasn't listening to him at all, and she might have potentially been listening to her earpiece instead and just saying what they were telling her in her ear. And then at the end, she said, it was nice to meet you, and he just said thank you, which I thought was hilarious, because, you know, he had to come out of this interview feeling completely disrespected, and that's exactly what she did for this whole entire interview. Was she disrespected him, she disrespected the American public, and, you know, it's because she doesn't have any respect for Fox News viewers. She doesn't have any respect for anybody that's basically not one that the Democrat Party likes to cater to. And so she did this because she's able to now say, look, I went on Fox News and faced Bret Baier, and knowing that the mainstream media culprits of CNN, MSNBC, the woke mouthpieces for the Democratic Party will try to champion her and say that she did a great job. And it's funny because I did a little Google search before I made this video looking for just simply how many times did Donald Trump go on an interview with CNN, and all the articles that pulled up were CNN trying to make Kamala Harris look better as a result of this exact interview. And it's pretty pathetic how these people are completely bought. It's so obvious that these companies have it in for Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. And it's crazy to me that they're willing to do that, because let's face it, if Kamala Harris wins this election, CNN might not last those 4 years, right? It was Donald Trump and the hatred for Donald Trump and all the bullcrap attacks from the Democratic Party that made careers for people like Chris Cuomo and everybody, and Don Lemon and people, you know, all the people that were fired from CNN as soon as Donald Trump wasn't president again, right? And so, you know, that was their heyday. They made a lot of money off Donald Trump being the president and fear mongering and hatred of Donald Trump from their followers, their cult followers, essentially. And so, in my mind, you would think that secretly these people actually want Donald Trump to win because it's a payday for them for the next 4 years. But no, they're so brainwashed by their cult that they can't see through the forest to see the trees or whatever that is, and realize that Donald Trump is not only going to be what's best for our country and the American citizens, it's also what's best for their coverage and the future of their company. But, you know, it is what it is. Trump derangement syndrome is fully on display. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video. Come see me Saturday, 8 p.m. I stream every Saturday on the Jar Openers podcast. And I'll see you guys there.